One of the things that come up is your motivation for buying or selling a home. Hi there, I'm Tamara Doris, your Sacramento real estate professor and your Sacramento real estate professional. And after spending the last 30 years and still going strong in the real estate industry as an agent the whole time, a professor for 22 years, part-time professor, and even working for the California Association of Realtors earlier on in my career. So I understand the real estate industry from a different perspective than your average run-of-the-core, run-of-the-mill, here, give me my classes and let me take my license. You know, as an educator and as someone who works in the trenches, I see all sides of it. And one of the things that I see a lot of agents missing out on, and I only know this from talking to sellers or buyers who did not hire a certain agent, and then I asked why. And one of the things that I've learned is that agents aren't asking this really important question. It's called why. Is it a good time to sell right now? And the agent will say, yeah, of course, it's a great time to sell. My first question is always, why are you selling? Why are you buying now? And if you think that those questions don't matter, I want you to think again. If the market is not exactly right, like, you know, I always said, and I just did a video that said the 3 things to consider when it's time to sell your home is the marketing, the timing of the market, your personal situation, and what's going on with buyers and interest rates. So those things all matter, but I want to know why you're selling, because then I can better advise you. Now, if you tell me you're selling because your parents passed away and it's their home, then yeah, now would be a good time to sell. Unless you want to continue and take over their mortgage payments that could potentially be there, the utilities, the HOA, all of that. So it could cost you money. If you tell me, yes, we're getting a divorce, and so I got to move, yes, now's the time to sell. But if you're thinking about retiring and you want to move to Florida and you're like, is this a good time to sell? It really depends on a couple of things, specifically what neighborhood you're in. So I can run a really comprehensive, comparable exam and really take a comprehensive look at not just the last 3 months like most agents do. I go back a year. I want to see what the cycle is, because every single neighborhood beats to its own drum and it has a different cycle. Like, I've identified an area that's not too far from me where they sell every 4 to 5 years. But then I also have a neighborhood near me that they only sell every 7 to 10 years. So you have to kind of look around. And now what's really ideal is if you have an agent who understands the data and the cycles, is to time your marketing when other people in your neighborhood are not selling, because then you have no competition. People don't buy just houses, they buy neighborhoods. And so if there's a certain neighborhood that you live in that it's very rare that a house goes up goes up in the market, that's awesome. But then you'll notice, if you think back, if you've lived there several years, you'll notice that at one time you've got 2 or 3 houses on the market and you're like, what the heck's going on? And then it's nice and dry for another 5 to 7 years. So everything works in cycles, including neighborhoods. But listen, if you're living in a home with someone who you've decided you can't live with anymore and you're getting a divorce, waiting is probably not worth your sanity, right? Waiting, it could be too tough. Also, if you're selling an estate or a probate sale where you have all these extra expenses from the property, you got to sell it, right? So waiting is more about timing the market, looking at what's going on with interest rates and buyers, and what is specifically going on in your exact neighborhood. But again, if I don't find out why my clients are selling a house, what's the reason behind it, I can't give them the best advice. Now, what about when it comes to buying? It's the same thing. Why are you buying now? Tell me why you're buying. Now, if you tell me, let's say interest rates, like right now, I don't think they're that bad. People are complaining about them, but I remember selling houses when they were 18%. So this is nothing. But if you think this is a high interest rate and you're saving your money up and every penny counts because you've got to pay closing cost, which you can plan around 3%, and because of the NAR law change, you may be responsible for part or all of the buyer's agent's commission. Now, I try really hard as a seller's agent to encourage my sellers to help pay for that commission, because it's not to help the buyer's agent. Sorry, I love you. It's not to help you though. It's because I know that I'm going to get my sellers the most exposure and the best property, or excuse me, the best buyer for their property if they're willing to pay a little bit of that fee, because I know most buyers can't afford it. Okay. And I don't encourage it. I don't step outside the law, even in the semi-gray area. I am very upfront. I disclose everything. I absolutely disclose that I'm not an attorney. That real estate fees and commissions are absolutely negotiable by law. I don't step outside of any of those invisible lines at all, because they're not really that invisible. But if you're buying a house and, you know, you have to consider, you may have to pay part of your agent's commission. And, you know, there's really no way around this for a buyer. You either have to buy a house that the sellers are helping pay the commission, or you have to pay it yourself. And, you know, you may say, well, I'm just going to circumvent and I just won't use an agent. Well, good luck with that, because if you signed a buyer broker agreement with an agent to look at property, you're kind of in contractual agreement with them. Now, I want to say something about the buyer broker agreement. If you sign it with me and I show you a house, I'm not going to make you stick to that. I show you a house, you sign the buyer broker agreement, and you understand that if you buy this house, I'm going to get paid, whether it's from the seller or from you. I'm going to get paid if you buy this house. But that doesn't mean that if you buy a house down the street, I'm going to get paid. Now, when that comes into play is when we start looking at other houses. If you want to see a second house, now I'm going to ask you to sign a buyer broker agreement, because here's what happened, and this has been very, very true, is agents didn't get a signature on the buyer broker agreement before all the hoopla about the commission, and buyers would go looking at properties with agents, and then they would go around to an open house and they would write an offer. And the agent, who spent gas and time and emails and text and, you know, working really hard to find them a property, they just went and bought it at an open house. So that's not really fair for the buyer's agent. So I get that point. I get the point. But buyer's agents really need to be transparent with the buyers and let them know, I'll show you a house. You're not obligated beyond this house. But if you want me to start sending you properties and we're going to start house hunting, you got to put a ring on it. I mean, you got to say you're the one I'm working with, because there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes that you are never going to even know about that agents do. So if that's the case and you find a house that isn't covering their commission and you can't pay it, it might not be the right time to buy. If you're waiting for interest rates to go down, this might not be the right time for you to buy. If you really need to save up $20,000 more so you can, you know, semi-comfortably pay for those closing costs, right now might not be the right time to buy. So you see, this is why, whether you're a buyer or a seller, if we're going to sit down, whether it's on a Zoom call, which the link is below, I'm happy to have a Zoom call with anybody, whether you're a buyer or seller. If you're a buyer, I can get some information from you. I can connect you. I can even connect my lender right in on the call, so he or she can ask you some questions and it can be best determined what you're pre-qualified for, right? Because a lot of times buyers will think that they're qualified for $500K, and then it turns out, based on their income, based on their credit, and, you know, all the things, maybe they're only qualified for $400,000, which isn't a bad thing. But if they had their heart set on a $500,000 house and they're not going to be happy with that starter home, then they might want to wait. Okay, I need to know why you're buying. Now, if you're getting married and you've already got 3 kids between the two of you, you might want to go ahead and you know, suck it up a little bit and get the starter home now, and then in a few years you sell it, you turn over the equity, and then you buy a bigger home. So that is the whole moral of this story today. The whole purpose of this video is just to say that wherever you are, whomever you are, when you're working with an agent, I hope the agent's first question is, why are we having this conversation? Why do you want to move? Why are you selling? Why do you want to buy? Why are you thinking of buying? Timing is everything in real estate. They say that timing is of the essence in real estate, and that doesn't just expand into contracts and legal documents, which it absolutely applies, but also for the whole beginning of the journey. I mean, you want to make sure that you're well prepared for it and you're making your move at the right time. So click on the link below. Let's have a chit chat. And if you're a seller and we have a Zoom call, You can take your phone or your laptop and you can show me around your house, and I can get a really good perspective on where it falls with the comps. I will not price a home based on a Zoom call or a video, but I will get a good idea, and I can at least over the phone, before you bother having me come look at your property, I can give you an idea of where I think the price range is. Because sometimes I'll have a meeting with someone and they'll show me their house. They're on their phone, they're taking me in the front yard, the backyard, and I'm like, okay, I did some comps, and based on what you just showed me, you're about in this range. And then they're like, yeah, we're not going to sell right now. And that's totally fine. Like, I'm not here to strong arm anyone into selling their house. I only want to help you if you are ready to be helped, right? So if that's you and you're thinking of buying or selling in the Sacramento area, click on the link below. Let's set up a time to chit chat or have a Zoom call, and we will see how I can help you. Have a great day, and thanks for watching.